Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here today to really share some of our recent research that really was focused on kind of defining the role of SMS in our modern sample. As I will discuss, the last time we did this was 2015. And as you can imagine, so much has changed in the world that we really wanted to be sure that we are using SMS as effectively as possible. And so, just a little background in case you missed Ellen's phenomenal presentation earlier today. The Gallup panel is a nationally representative, probability based, multi mode panel of approximately 100,000 US adults. Panelists are recruited via ABS and RTD frames. Panelists can be recruited to surveyed by web, mail, telephone, or SMS style surveys, which is not what this is about today. And for most projects, a stratified sample is drawn from our panel members. So, as I mentioned, the last time we really delved in deep on how to use SMS was around 2015, 2016. And as you can imagine, again, a lot has changed. Just looking at the number of cell phone ownership, 68% in 2015 of American adults own a smartphone. Today, that sets at 92%. So this old adage that smartphones were this emerging technology probably doesn't hold anymore. It has emerged. It is very common, and US adults are very accustomed to using smartphones. And we have really seen this impact in our panel. Currently, over half of all the surveys that are completed by our panelists are completed via mobile device, so whether it's a tablet or a smartphone. And so, as you might imagine, when you add this with probably the most common methodological concern we have is that our comms or email invitation reminders just are not reaching our panelists. So they get lost in this black box of an email inbox. And they just generally may not be seeing our emails. So SMS really can serve as this additional point of contact that may raise completion rates across our surveys. And so just to take you back to what our panel looked like in 2016, 8%, just 8% of our panelists were consented to receiving SMS or MMS. Generally, consenting was more common among older, white, and college graduates. And panelists who consented tended to be our high responders. So they tended to respond to anything, regardless if the text was sent or not. And today, it's changed drastically. Over 60% of our panelists are currently consented to receiving SMS or MMS, and the demographic breakdown is quite different. Instead of being older, now it's younger panelists who are more inclined to consent. It's now Black and Hispanic panelists who are likely to consent, and it's likely our new members that are, again, likely to consent. And hopefully by the end of this, I can show you some data that shows that it's likely that these SMS consenters today, just like back in 2016, are our high responders of our panelists. So today I'm going to cover one really broad topic, how effective is SMS and where to use SMS. And I'm going to break that down into three unique studies. One looking at, how SMS could be used as a pre-note to our survey or panel recruitment. So sending a pre-note to warn them that a phone call is coming. We're also looking at how SMS can be used as an initial reminder and how effective that is. So sending it in tandem with an email, and also how SMS can be used as a final reminder for our traditionally low responders or those responders that are facing retirement from our panel. And generally, again, if SMS consenters are high responders in our panel. So the first study that I'm going to go over fielded last summer. And we took over 50,000 of our panelists, or 50,000, prepaid cell phone owners. And we wanted to see if, again, that SMS or MMS pre-notification was effective in increasing response rates across our hopeful panelists. And we did this by randomly splitting those cell phones into three groups, one that didn't receive anything, so our normal protocol, one that received SMS only, and one that received MMS and SMS. And for the sake of time, I'm going to do this very quickly. Overall, SMS, that pre-note did not work. It led to almost a warning effect where they saw the text and they actively tried to avoid that call. And in general, non-contact heights, again, were really high for the SMS MMS group, while refusal rates were higher for those non-SMS and MMS groups. And across the samples, no significant demographic differences emerged for those who completed the survey. And final nail in the coffin of this pre-note, it was nearly 12% more expensive per complete than our traditional method. So again, very ineffective, and it really didn't do what we expected it to do. So now that we know it's really ineffective as a pre-note, how does it function as an initial reminder? So an initial reminder sent in tandem with an email. And so in October of last year, we again wanted to see how effective this was. And so of our about 84,000 Gallup panelists, of which about 43,000 of them were consenters, we randomly drew conditions based on those consenters. So we more or less split them in half. Half got an SMS and half got nothing. Okay, so the effective size here for SMS was about 18,000. And this graph really shows a major point, right? Both SMS conditions, those who consented, both SMS consenting conditions, had a higher response rate overall compared to those non-consenters, right? So both had over a 60% response rate, while the non-consenters had about 52. So again, a significant increase, which really does show that our SMS consenters, regardless if they get an SMS or not, may be our high responders in our panel. And when you look at the day-by-day distribution, a really clear pattern emerges. Those who get the text really respond very quickly and very in the first day, just like our consenting group that didn't receive an SMS. So again, around 50% of those SMS consenters participated on day one. Then it really went back and mirrored our traditional response patterns. And I should mention, compared to those non-SMS groups, both SMS consenting groups showed significant demographic differences across all demographic groups. So both consenting groups had higher rates of all races, all ages complete the survey. So again, it was a pretty consistent increase over all the demographic groups. So now that we know that it may not be effective as a pre-note, and it really is effective as a initial invite over not getting over the non-consenters at least, we wanted to see how this functioned for our low responders, the responders that have responded to a single survey in the past 6 months. And these folks are facing retirement. So we really wanted to get every last drop, every last response as we could, because as we know, the most effective strategy to recruit panelists is to retain panelists. And so in this, after 3 reminders, we sent them with an email, a text. And this text, again, it was relatively small with a really short link, which is a little different from another text we used. And overall, we did find a very significant jump in responses as soon as we released that text. Over a quarter exactly of all of our responses in the survey was by text. So that final reminder did seem to drive people to complete our survey and did increase the amount of panelists retained. So again, SMS seems to be effective, just not as a pre-note, but maybe as a reminder or a final reminder in specific circumstances. So generally, again, as a pre-note, ineffective. SMS as an invitation or a final reminder seems to be highly effective. And generally speaking, these SMS consenters really respond at a high rate. So again, they are very valuable panelists. So I have some major limitations to this. All of these studies were fielded during the peak of the election. So from the summer of last year to right up to the election in October. As many of you may know, there was a very drastic increase in spam texts, as kind of this image shows. And I challenge anyone to pick out the legitimate text in those walls of illegitimate texts. And one of the big limitations here is that it's really our results are limited to the designs we tested, especially for text, which is very language based. Yes. Yeah, and I'm just going to leave it here just in case anyone wants to do a little exercise and pick out the legitimate text.
Do we have any questions?
I think people are trying to find out.
There.